units because they're not saving a lot of money with them. So that's the intent. Now, from a router switch perspective, for us that that are studying the CCNA, each of these screens uses, I think it's 1.6 megabits of bandwidth.
Minimum, but
minimum. Yeah, it can spike up to about 50-some megabits for a fraction of a second, depending on how much motion is coming across it. So when we think about that, that's dedicated bandwidth. And that bandwidth is expensive. That bandwidth has to be guaranteed or have a quality of service, as we call it. In other words, anyone here use Vonage or Magic Jack at home or anything like that? Okay, used to. So what would happen if you were using Vonage or Magic Jack and you were downloading a big download at the same time?
I cannot hear a thing, maybe every other word.
Exactly. That's that. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, like that. Exactly.
Exactly
That's
like
exactly what it sounds like.
Exactly like that.
Oh, wait, hold on.
I was like, what? Oh, yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. So what's happening there is that your ISP, your service provider, is providing you with a certain amount of bandwidth. And if your download is using all that bandwidth up, and your phone call is fighting for that same bandwidth, the phone call information isn't all making it through in time. That can be a problem.
He got bad videos behind you.
That's all right. So quality of service is a way of ensuring that certain IP information, certain IP packets go through first, and other ones have to wait. So in the case of using Magic Jack, you wouldn't have that problem if you had quality of service configured so all the IP phone traffic went through first, and the download traffic had to wait. But when we're at home, there's no quality of service on our internet connection. There's no priority. So everything fights for that bandwidth. When you have a system like this, or an IP phone system, you configure quality of service on those switches, on those routers, to prioritize the traffic. When you call up Verizon and say, I want a WAN connection from this building to this building, this office to this office for my telepresence, I make sure that all the bandwidth for telepresence has a very high quality of service. So if someone in the back room is downloading YouTube and someone else is trying to download a BitTorrent movie and somebody else is, internet chatting or something like that, their downloads are going to slow down. But my traffic for this video and this voice is going to continue. And that's called quality of service. It's configured on routers and switches. Having a high level of quality of service from your service provider, from AT&T, from Verizon, from Paytech, costs extra money. It's a premium service. But it's necessary for a system like this. It's necessary for a phone system. So again, when we think about what you're learning around switches and routers, quality of service, I think, Steve, you know better than I do, but is quality of service in the CCNA? It might be in the CCNP, actually.
Oh, it's in the CCNP for sure.
Okay,
but,
okay.
But some of these students, they're actually taking a voice class from me. We're actually doing
Oh.
the system, and they've heard of QoS.
Got it. Okay. So yeah.
CCNA really doesn't carry much in that area. I guess that's really more in the CCNP area.
Got it. So yeah, but that's more of an advanced feature. But if you're working for a customer that has IP telephony or any sort of video conferencing, things like that, you may run into quality of service as something that you want to configure on the routers, on the switches, to make sure that the voice doesn't sound like
Yes.
But because the first thing someone's going to do is, if you pick up, everyone expects the phone to work every time they pick it up. It doesn't take many times that the phone doesn't work before, as an IT person, as a network administrator, you're going to get a whole lot of angry phone calls saying this phone system sucks. And at CISCO, we have a vested interest in making sure you guys understand how to configure this. Because a lot of times, when they say something like the phone system sucks, it's actually the phone system isn't quite set up right. But if they're not a technical person and they don't know it, what are they going to say? Well, let's see, this phone is a CISCO phone. It's got to be CISCO's products that suck. And so we regardless of whether it's good or not. So our reputation is at stake, along with yours as a network administrator. And so that's why our support group is literally over 1,000 people, a couple thousand people that you can call 24 hours a day as a network administrator to get help configuring and troubleshooting these things, because we understand at the end of the day it's our name on the products. So even if it's a configuration mistake, we want to make sure that you have a successful experience with that, and that's very important to us at CISCO as well.
Oh, wow.
Any questions around this whole telepresence thing here? Any experiments you guys want to try?
Yeah, have you guys thought to make it more realistic when they come out with the 3D televisions that you don't need the glasses for, using those for them?
I don't know. We typically, in the sales group, as sales engineers, we typically know what's maybe a year, 2 years down the road. If there's any revolutionary changes like that, a lot of times our development group will keep them very quiet, so that when they are announced, it's a huge surprise on the marketplace. Jason can talk about that with our servers that we came out a year and a half ago. You want to talk about how good a secret that was?
Yeah, they were developing those for 3 years, and we didn't find out about them until a month before they launched.
Oh, wow.
We Cisco employees didn't even know about it. Yeah.
They keep it top secret, yep.
In some meetings, they become active. And I've noticed the sound, it will follow the person. So if you had people across both tables start arguing at the same time, what would happen with your sound?
Can we
Does
test
it
it?
mute?
Can we test it?
It doesn't mute, but you can mute it with the button in
You
front
can
of you there.
mute somebody. Can you mute somebody else?
You can mute a room.
Oh.
That's all.
I thought you could like
Anyone in
choose and say
particular?
you're muted. Am I muted now?
You are muted now.
Oh, cool. I wish it was that easy.
Didn't last very long.
No.
Secret conference on this,
It was very,
or at least
I'll do
a
a
So-
lip read, say that you.
All right, what about if there was a movie that both sides wanted to see at the same time? Can that be done? And if so, well,
You know, that is a good question that I've never tried in a telepresence room.
actually, Pat, you need the high frame rate codec enabled to, in order to share video content.
Okay. You don't.
The codec is an option when you get a telepresence meeting. You can get a big DSP farm. That's basically what it is, that can allow you to transfer video onto that.
Yeah, I would imagine that we probably don't have that running. Can you guys see the video there?
Yeah.
Oh!
It's
What's that? Is it really lagging?
It actually looks pretty good from up here.
Yeah, since we're local, it's not going. They got it across the network. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So.
He's talking about like that phone impression.
Cool.
Does that play sound too, though?
It will, yeah, if it supports that, yeah. Let's see. So let's go back to the conversation we were having in the other room. Nope, not that one. Looks like I'm there.
I don't see it there.
Yeah, it's not coming up.
We need to discuss your desktop.
No, I was noticing, is it a new model?
You can pay me to clean that up.
That's what I
Organize
thought.
Yeah,
I was like, it might be some type of special, because I was like, wow.
and then you make a folder, you dump all that in there.
I know, you make a folder.
You don't want to
You,
save over.
you name the folders different things.
I'm old school. I actually never use the desktop for anything, so I really don't care what's there and what's
no
not,
wonder it's
because I
lots
never
of-
use it. It's just a good place to save a file every now and then when I need it immediately and I don't have to go through a bunch of folders. But other than that, it's just kind of a rubbish bin for me.
right?
What's that? Yeah, exactly. So,
Right click start.
so we've got about 30 minutes before lunch or so here. So I was just going to go through some more of this if this is of interest. But before I do that, I was wondering if you guys have any other questions
No, I don't
around
wanna sit there.
telepresence, how it works, what it's for, any questions at all as we're experiencing this?
I want to watch Julie get confused again. See, watch her. Thanks.
Okay, so moving right along, and like I said, I'll send these slides to your instructors so they can forward them to you. Do you have a question?
Yeah, actually I do. If, let's say you're going through the meeting and you get to a point, well, what did so-and-so say back at this point? Does it record it so that way you can go back to what people had said?
You can record a meeting, you can record a screen. In fact, you can record your own video as well in a room all by yourself. Now what you can't do is just rewind while you're in the meeting and listen to, and like, oh, what did he say 30 seconds ago, let's go back. So you can't do that in the meeting room, but you can record these things and review them later. And everyone note, one of the big selling points about this is when you had a question, before you raised your hand, you looked kind of quizzically at me. And we want to, part of the intent here is to be able to capture those expressions. Because if you're talking to somebody and their face is the size of a postage stamp, or if you've ever talked to someone over the phone and you want to know how they feel, if you can't see their face, you don't know whether they're getting it or not. And now, if you guys, like, you got a notebook in front of you, I have a laptop in front of me, if I'm doing this the whole time, you know I'm checking email and I don't care what anybody says. And that's part of the intent here. Or if someone's sitting there like, this, I know I need to back up and maybe explain things better because they are not agreeing with what I'm saying.
Especially if it's a big sale.
Exactly.
Especially if you're trying to sell to a company and you get to see exactly what's going on with them, so you can refract and be like, if you said something that you're taking them a direction that they told me were not wasn't good for them, you can change it right then and there by looking at that expression and be like, well, let me take you here, and then you know what points when they spike up, where to go.
Exactly.
Yeah, I noticed that when I was looking in the door. When I was looking in the door, that's what I was asking you about. When they were having that meeting, I was looking in the door and I was looking at that lady's expression when they were having their conference, and it was so funny how I could see how she felt about everything that was being said.
Exactly, exactly. That's a big part of
Did you mute him?
You can mute me. Long as the people I'm selling to, y'all ain't making me money. The people I'm selling to, they mute me. I'm getting on the airplane. I'm going single.
So the mute button, I'm interested. If you wanted to discuss something on this side,
exactly.
What you do is mute it so that they can't hear what you're discussing.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to leave the room.